Hey, what's up? This is Brad Johnson with the second question. As you may or may not know, the new videos are going to be asking the second question in a real life situation based upon things that I've seen or had happen in my life. I didn't know what the format was going to be, but it's better to get started, get going. And I thought I would lay out the story of what's happened to me over the last 7 years. And I wouldn't know quite how to do it. And it seemed like more planning. But a more organized way would be great. But here we are, because I found myself in another situation just today. So, as stated, I'm going to try to make this around Bitcoin, sound money, trustful relationships, community building, and a life based upon first principles, not some bastardized version that the law has put up. So, as such, what happened to me today? Well, to make a long story short, or a short story long, you'll hear much of this going on. My ex-girlfriend, who I believed I was going to marry, we dated for 5 years or something along those lines. I'll have exact details later. And I was living with her in Arkansas. Her initials are KH or MM, or any combination of those first two and last. Why? Well, it appears to me that she's been running identity fraud scams for as long as can be. And, she's a attractive yoga instructor, let's just put it that way. And she's used that for a lot of leverage. I am a Bitcoiner, and I Bitcoin for humanity, help the world out. And I wanted to build a circular economy, an economy that would make a wonderful town thrive, that was fading and just didn't have the money, but it had all the skills. I don't know quite how this happened, because we were to be married and my money was her money. So, as a brief part of that, this must be in 23 or 24. I've studied Bitcoin nitty-gritty in various ways for over 8,000 hours. That would be 4 standard 40-hour work week years. But I studied it really fast. And I don't know how she was approached or if I was targeted from the beginning, but ended up hooking up with a person via a dating app as described above. KH are the initials, or MM as she goes by now are the initials. And I was informed by my business partner, who is a friend of hers, that she was going to yet try to pull a third restraining order for me, despite the fact that none of them are true. And that was established on the first one, where she was trying to shut me up and put me in jail. Not for threats, for being sick, and she'd stolen my money, sick with long COVID, and she had stolen my money. And the courts will allow this. Now, it's kind of wild because you get instantly kicked out of your house, and you have to wait until a trial starts. This person proceeded to rob my multiple small businesses because we'd been a couple for 5 years and everybody knew them. And I'd funded these businesses as, maybe I'll get my money back, maybe I won't. But we're building a community. And at the time, 2024, let's call it, January 2024, probably a little bit before that, I was in grave concern that there would be civil unrest, civil war, global war. Certainly, even to this day, we are standing, if you look at the stock market today, our money's unsound. And the rules are unfair, and things are bad. This person, it is my strong belief, and it's not been proven in court. And at some point we'll get around to the thousands of pages of documents as to why I believe this. But this problem had gone away, luckily. And I'd moved long ago. I'm never around her. But I can easily prove within 1 minute with a blockchain explorer that she stole at least 3 Bitcoin from me outright. And I can do that and show it to anybody in under a minute. There's about anywhere from 5 to 7 others missing that she may be a part of as well. As well as there are multiple attacks on my account from the inside. Now, one may say, well, you should have secured your keys better, or what have you. But this is a $5 wrench attack. In case you don't know what a $5 wrench attack is, you buy a $5 wrench, or you buy a lawyer, or you buy a police officer, or you buy a judge. And they allow this stuff to go through in Arkansas. At any rate, I thought it went away, but they still have my phone hacked, and I must have stumbled over something very juicy. I've been slowly trying to pick my way through all these things. I've filed FBI reports. I've filed reports with the local police. I've filed reports with the AG. They don't seem to care. So, there's a couple lessons here. One, well, let me roll this back. The first thing is that they still have their hooks in my accounts. So, they fired off emails, but if you know what a header is in an email, it's actually quite preposterous. But they fired off a couple of emails to try to frame me for another restraining order. That's not going to fly. I did hear from a business partner of mine that's a mutual friend of hers that she has, quote, evidence of me harassing her. Now, the way a restraining order works is that everything in there is illegal to begin with. And even weirder is that they're going to suspend your rights until you prove yourself innocent in a court of law. So if everything that's in a restraining order is already illegal, all they've done is made it what, doubly illegal. Haven't protected her at all. And in fact, in the only trial out of the two that I had to show up for, I luckily had documented any number of things. And was able to prove that it was absolutely preposterous. And in fact, that she flagrantly just made up the story. At which point they washed their hands and walked away. The weirder thing is, she signed a swore affidavit that all these things were true. And especially the most important one. And nothing happened to her despite this. Nothing happened to the judge despite this. The order should not have been granted. The lies were perpetuated on my property, which is signed and posted. No trespassing. All trespassers will be shot. You're allowed to do that in Arkansas. Now, nonetheless, nobody was shot. No guns were brandished. And I just don't get it. But nonetheless, they broke into my accounts again and sent a very sloppy series of notes that make it look like I sent them to her. But I know exactly where I was. And I know, and I have a witness. And on top of that, just the IP address on my phone and where it was in the tracking data will make it deadly clear. So, hopefully she won't go through with it, but during this process of learning that there's been email fakery, I went and checked through my notes, and sure enough, there is a note sent after any number of things. But I may or may not have sent the note that she was referring to. That was done. If it was done, it was done 2 months ago, and she's acting like it just happened. And then Gemini has a summary on it that makes it sound really harsh, whereas the note simply says, "You can keep some of the money you stole, and we'll just sweep it under the rug, but you can't keep it all." And you're going to get your friend in trouble, and while you're trying to get me in trouble, and you're going to go down. Nonetheless, she wants to stick to this story, and it's really, really dumb, because all I did was ask for the rightful money she owes me, and I said we could discuss she owes me some money for sure. This is done, it's rent, loans, so forth, and that's not in question. But then she owes me for any number of things that are much more dicey. But she definitely owes me on chain for Bitcoin theft. And it's the easiest thing to prove, especially with an AI. And then on top of it, it's all on the blockchain. Not to mention all on the government servers that are recording everything, always. So, long story short, I saw this thing spin up again today, and her narrative is after the fact, and I will not contact her anymore. She has never stated not to contact her from her own lips. She's had an attorney who claimed not to be her attorney anymore tell me that, which is really weird because he's not her attorney. Why would he care? And but point being is, today I got I found a letter from her to me, or an email from her to me, and it's dated June 1st, well after the setup they tried to put me in. And so I am not contacting her, and this is for the record, because now I got a message from her, the first one that I've seen, and she has refused to, speak with me or anything. But if I'm not under restraint, I can contact her to try to recover my money. And I can contact her to let her know what I have in my pocket that, will put her in prison for a long time. And hopefully get my money back, or she'll just go to prison. Or she can just negotiate with me. There's no threat in there. And it's totally clear that there's no threat in there. So, just one of many, many stories. And everybody should be aware. There's so many stories I have about the police, the FBI, the judges, all of which make no sense, and all of whom can be bought off. So, there we are. Happening again. And I suggest everybody out there act like there is no government, because they're not coming to save you. There is no cavalry coming. And if you're going to be reliant on the police, that's a day late, a dollar short, or your arch enemy. So, very strange. Anybody who has over $500,000, be concerned. Be very concerned. That is the second question. Thanks for listening. I'll try to make everything in the future a little bit more lively. I had a hard day today, getting screwed over in the, trading, and 8 other coins would really help with that. But here we are. Again, thanks for listening. Always ask the second question. DM me if you feel like it. If you have any questions about how to secure your Bitcoin or anything else, I'm here for you. Thank you.